Hey, Remote Islanders, welcome back to another fantastic interview. I have someone I think some of you will recognize, especially if you attended the Caribbean Remote Work Conference on June 7th that was held in Jamaica. He is from Kingston, Jamaica. He is working remotely for about 8 years, I believe. That's what my research told me. If I'm wrong, he'll correct me. But he was one of the speakers and he touched on, I think, a topic that a lot of people are reaching out to me about, and that's resume. So we will get into that. And I just want to say that I have finally gotten all the remote work Avengers on my podcast. This is the final one. I've had Priscilla, I've had Ushido, I've had Stephen, and now I have Krishna Dewor. Krishna, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Tasha, for having me here. I'm super excited. I know it's been a long time in the making, and I'm happy to, finally be here.
Yes, it has been a long time. We have rescheduled and rescheduled, but guys, life happens. You know how it is, and being remote workers, you kind of have to
Yeah.
roll with the punches. That's par for the course for it. So, Krishna, the question I ask every guest that comes onto my podcast, it's the interview question that I think most of us hate, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the first interview question that we get, right? Krishna, tell me about yourself.
Well, I've been working remote for, you were correct when you said it was 8 years. I've been working
Right.
remote for 8 years. I really delve like deeper into remote work in 2022 thereabout because the job spur starting in 2018 was more of like a hybrid type of stuff. So
Right.
I'd probably have to go into office sometimes, but it was predominantly remote. But
Okay.
my experience with actual working directly with US clients started around 2022 thereabout. Um, it's been a rewarding experience so far, just, immersing with different cultures directly and just learning how to communicate. A
Yes.
lot of us, remote job teaches so much, and one thing I can say that remote work has taught me is how to communicate clearly and making sure that all my I's are dotted and my T's are crossed.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah. I think one of the things I've learned from remote work is to over communicate, right?
yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
when I say that, people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, listen, especially when you're dealing in an asynchronous environment where you are in one time zone, somebody, your
Yeah,
employer or your teammate is in a different time zone, and you have to connect, you have to mesh, you have to work on a project together, and you're not in person or having Zoom meetings all the time because it's not possible. Over communication is your friend. You know,
yep.
it is definitely one of the skills that you have to develop as a remote worker. So, your current job, you are a client support concierge. And I was like, oh, that sounds fancy. What is that? What does your day to day look like?
So my day-to-day looks like, so the company supports over 250 we call them partners. Not sure how much I can say
Right.
online, but the company does support a huge amount of clients in the United States. So
Mm-hmm.
my day-to-day looks a lot like, handling or sending off escalations to different
Right.
departments, speaking with clients on the phone, and sometimes they're upset because something just isn't working right. And
Mm-hmm.
we gather details for these clients and send them over to the who needs to get them so we can get them proper support and get their various issues solved.
Okay, perfect. So that's sort of like what I used to do in person. I was
Hmm.
what was called an application support specialist. So
Yeah.
you basically are that first line of support.
Yeah.
Tell me what's the problem. If I can fix it or if I can come up with a workaround, great. If not, then you escalate to development or whatever team was supporting you. So that sounds very
Yeah.
familiar. I absolutely
Yeah.
loved doing
So
that job though, because I felt like it was constant challenge. You know, it was a
yes.
constant challenge to to fix a
Figure
problem.
things
And
out.
yes, yes, like I'm a very logical minded person. So figuring out where something was broken or how to go around that broken part was the thing that I lived for. I absolutely enjoy doing that.
Yeah,
How do you
so
feel about it?
listen, for me, solving problems, fixing stuff, and translating that into the customer's language is
Yes.
what I live for. Um, what makes my current role a little bit different, though, from my previous role as a senior customer support specialist. When I was a
Hmm.
senior customer support specialist, I was in the trenches with the customer. I was actually fixing stuff. At
Right.
as a client concierge now, we focus on more type of a white glove type of service where
Okay.
we're
Hmm.
extra friendly, we're rolling out,
Yes.
we're going above and beyond, but we're not really fixing stuff. We're gathering the details rather, and we're
Yeah.
sending them to who actually
Who?
fixes. So we send them to the
Okay.
actual company in and of itself.
Got it. So it's more like um kind of like making sure they're taken care of as opposed to fixing it.
Def
Yeah. And making
yes.
sure you're sending them to the right person, which is very important because,
Hmm.
when you deal with problems like this, if you send a client to the wrong team and they have to wait longer for a fix, I
Yeah.
think that just escalates the frustration that they are
Mhm.
feeling and it's not good for anybody in the situation. So, what led you into moving from a hybrid role into a fully remote role?
All right, so for me, I was looking for more flexibility, and of course,
Okay.
persons are looking for a better salary, to be honest. So I was looking for a better
Yes.
salary, and I was looking for, yeah, I'm not gonna joke. I was looking for a
No,
better
no.
salary, and
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for flexibility. So when I was working hybrid, um, in for the days that I used to have to go into office, I wasn't driving at the time. So
Okay.
I'd have to take at least three modes of transportation to
Oh.
get into
Mm-mm.
that office. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm spending half of my salary in lunch,
Right.
um, transportation, and all of that. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I need to find some way out of this.
Right.
And I remember a couple weeks after I was like so frustrated with the traveling and all of that, and then COVID came, and like, why am I traveling during COVID? And I reached
Putting
out to a
yourself at risk.
friend.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when I was in university, I had a friend, a very close female friend, and she was like, "Okay, cool. Um, let me see." No, she said to me that she knows someone who is doing barbering and they're looking for like a dummy to practice on.
Oh
So I
God.
was like, okay, cool. I don't have anything to do. I was in university and on a weekend I was free. So I went and, the barber started to barber. I was like, okay, cool. I like these haircuts. So I kept on going back. So over the years, I formed a friendship and
Right.
I was saying to the person, like, I'm so frustrated with my job. And the person was like,
Right.
send me your resume. I thought that this person only did barbering on the side. I didn't know that they were a whole hiring manager
Oh,
for
okay.
a remote company. So I got a link in my email a couple days after for an interview. I was like, oh wow, let's see what this is about. And
Right.
my remote work journey really started from there. And it's really through my hybrid role opened me up to
Hmm.
the different sectors and different types of technologies. But
Okay.
my fully remote role taught me some invaluable lessons. It equipped me to navigate the remote workspace. So in terms of, attributes like, clear communication,
Hmm.
how to handle escalations, how to work with others, how to work across departments. Because
Yeah.
when we look at that, when we look at working across departments, it's really for the customer. If
Yeah.
if someone messages or they send an email and they're like, hey, this isn't working, or I don't know how to do this.
Hmm.
Sometimes on our end, we don't know what to do, to be honest, because it's
Yes.
really not a us problem, it's an engineering
Yeah.
problem. So we have to be that bridge between, ourselves, or the bridge between the customer and engineering, and we're standing in the middle, like, we're the traffic wardens.
Yes.
And sometimes
Yes.
us as the traffic wardens, we're wearing more than one hat. We're wearing the
Yeah.
traffic warden hat. We're the doctor, we're the police, we're the lawyer, we're advocating for our
Yes.
clients. So, yeah,
I found myself to be the translator in that role
yeah,
because you're translating the layman customer issue to
mm-hmm,
a technical team. So you have to, put it from layman's terms into technical terms and then
yep,
translate back, you know, technical
yep,
terms into layman's terms. So that was the role I think I struggled with the most because
mm-hmm,
I came from a very technical background. So being able to explain something, like, I need you to toggle this, and they're like, do what? What does that even mean?
What does that mean? Yeah,
What does that mean? And where's that? A lot of the conversations you're having with someone is not where I'm standing next to them. So you are trying to explain how to fix a
yeah,
problem remotely. So you're on
mm-hmm,
a phone with them, you're typing, and you have to explain things. That was the role I struggled with the most because I had to remember they are not me. They are not the technical team. They are like Joe Schmo trying to figure this out with me. So I need to break this down as simply as
as simple as
possible.
possible.
Yes, so that they can get it. I think that was one of the things that was hardest for me. Do you have anything in your career so far that you found was the hardest thing to navigate?
I think I share with your sentiment. It was the hardest thing for me also when I'd probably be on the phone with a client and I'm like, is your Wi-Fi working? Like they're saying like, let's put it at a point of view where a client probably sends an email or they call in. Let's use the call because I can work better
Right.
with the call. So let's
Yes.
say they call in and they're like, I'm using my phone and I typically I can't go to Google. They know that their phone has something on it called Google
Yes.
and they can use it. They don't know what the internet is.
Yes.
So we know that it's an internet problem. So I made the
Hmm.
mistake and I went ahead and I say, um, do you see a Wi-Fi bar on your phone?
What
The
you talking
response was,
about?
what are you talking about? What is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And I had to break it down. I'm like, okay, what type of phone? I have to ask questions like, what type of phone
Yeah.
are you using? You're
Mm-hmm.
using an iPhone. If you're using an iPhone, you can look at the top right-hand corner of your screen and
Mm-hmm.
you'll see some bars going like a rainbow or like a
Yeah.
triangle. That's, do you see that at the top of the phone? And they're like, no, I don't see that at the top of the phone, which leads to other questions like,
Yes.
okay, do you know where the internet router or more than likely they have someone at home with them. So I like
Yeah.
asked like, is there someone at home like could assist with this call so we can try to help you?
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically just trying to break stuff down, which is what you said you had a problem with. And I'd say
Yeah.
it's the same for me. And
Yeah.
also you've mentioned, being that bridge relating,
Yeah.
layman terms to engineering terms so engineering can understand, and then what
Yes.
engineering says in their technical terms you have to translate that to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that can be very difficult, and that's where active listening, a lot of people don't understand that. Listen, active listening is very important in remote work. There's like
It
a
is.
whole, I could write a book of things that are important when
I
you're
will,
working
I
remote.
believe you. It is, active listening is such a skill now for me because there's so many nuances that you don't realize. You have to understand people's tone, people's body language. And this is in just Zoom calls,
Mhm.
in writing, you have to pick up on so much more, which is why I always tell people over communicate. Over
Yep.
communicate because it leaves no room for ambiguity or anyone to have to come back and ask you a question or anything like that. If you
Yep.
over communicate, everybody should be good, you know? So I like that you're talking about, you know, these things that you have learned so far. And I know that you are, I versed in like Zendesk and Salesforce, which are extremely lucrative software
Yep.
right now,
Oh,
for want of a better word,
yeah,
right?
to be
They,
honest, they are.
yeah, they
Most
are.
jobs like that you see on LinkedIn, you'll see,
Yes,
Salesforce preferred or Zendesk
yes,
preferred. So it is.
yes. So that is one of the things I get a lot. And I really like that I'm talking to someone who is in customer success and customer service and client success and all those that bracket, because I also do that, right? And I get a lot of people asking me, um, what should I learn? Right? What are the things I should learn? Now, soft skills wise, we've talked about a lot. We've talked about over communication. We've talked about being that translator. I think one of the things I do as well is being that sort of um, person that listens and kind of calms the customer down as well, because you know
Hmm.
when they reach to you, they vex, they
Yep.
you know, I can't do this, I need to get this done, I have this report due, and you are there like, okay, ma'am, sir, I'm here, I'm helping you. Sometimes it's not the easiest thing because they're angry and they don't need they don't want any calm, they want somebody to yell at. Not always the nicest thing. And I, you know, one of the things I tell people is that you have to develop some very thick skin when you
Hmm.
are doing customer service, whether in person or remotely, and not take things personally. They're not mad at you. They're mad at the situation, and you are the only person in the middle of you and getting it sorted out. So, you know, you have no choice. You just kind of take it, you be as kind as you can. But hard skills, right? This is one I find difficult to give advice on, because not everyone is on the same playing field, right? Technical wise, you know, some of those software are a lot more technical than others. But in terms of your experience, and you touched on it just now where you say Salesforce is one of the top things that people are asking for. Would you recommend that someone going into remote work in the customer success, client success space, what kind of software would you recommend for them to have at least rudimentary knowledge on?
Or to be honest, as we did say, Zendesk and Salesforce, these are the two leading platforms in
Yes,
remote work. Um, Salesforce, I find that companies now are now phasing out Salesforce and they're now implementing Zendesk because it might be easier to sync everything else with their work environment with the Zendesk. But it's still, I wouldn't rule out Salesforce. I'd still say try to get some hands-on knowledge, basic
yeah,
knowledge of how to use Salesforce and Zendesk. You can go to like the websites and some, if not all, in terms of Zendesk and Salesforce have free trials that you could probably
yes,
use for 7 days. Um, Salesforce and Zendesk, they are invaluable. These
yes, they
are
are.
leading. And I've even
Yeah,
realized where companies are even building their own internal CRMs around what Salesforce and Zendesk can do. So when you
yeah.
look at that, you really see the type of impact that Salesforce and Zendesk actually has on the market and has on workplaces.
Yeah.
Um,
And then having that knowledge on how they work kind of translates if a client or a customer is taking the elements and building their own CRM, because you're not coming from a place of absolutely not knowing anything. You're coming from a
Mhm.
place of understanding, okay, this is the workflow. This is the user interface may be different, but the
Yeah.
workflow, the background, how it works, how they interact with each other, it's going to be very similar. So coming from a place where like, okay, I don't know your software, but I do know Zendesk and Salesforce. And I just want to bring that up because the job that I have now, when I went into my interview, the interviewer asked me, how familiar are you with Monday.com? And
Hmm.
Monday.com is like a project management software.
Yeah.
And I just so happened to go on Monday.com a week before.
Wow.
Monday.com has a 10-day free subscription, as well as like free courses for onboarding to help learn just the basics, right? And I did that course. And I was so excited because I was like, you would not believe I just did this last week where I learned the basics of Monday.com. So there are a lot of software, their productivity software like
Hmm.
Monday, Trello, ClickUp, all of
HubSpot.
those things, HubSpot, Notion, and they have free trials, one, and they also have, a lot of them have their own academies where you could go
Mhm.
in and learn just the basics. So
Basics.
yeah, and on top of that, there is the University of YouTube for everything, right?
For
You
every,
can find
yes, yes,
you
yes.
can find a YouTube video on how to do everything.
Everything.
But
And
yeah,
you mentioned the whole University of YouTube thing.
yeah,
Um, Recently, a couple months ago, and you might see it on my LinkedIn that I also am familiar with platforms like N8N and
yes, I did.
Zapier. A lot of people that probably aren't or don't come from AI forward companies might not know what this is.
Yes,
What N8N and Zapier does is that it creates no code automation
yeah,
workflows. You can use
hmm,
them in your business or you can use them to help you in your job. So
yeah,
let's say your workplace doesn't have like, ticket triaging. So you'll just have to go through tickets yourself and
hmm,
assign them as urgent or, normal urgency. What it does is that you can automate this
yeah,
into Zendesk or into Salesforce and give it some parameters to work around. So let's say when tickets come in or tickets that are already existing, let's search for some keywords. And if this keyword exists, we're going to put them into an urgent filter. And if
yeah.
other keywords exist, we're going to put them into probably a low filter.
A mid
So
filter, yeah,
a
hmm,
mid filter, you can sync it with your Gmail.
yeah,
It automates just about anything that you want to do in terms of your work and personal
hmm.
life. And that makes your life easier
It
because
does,
you're
it
not
does.
doing anything manually.
Exactly. So that's a really great point because now it brings me into my next question that I could segue
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have been saying, remote work is dead or because of AI, right? And that a lot of jobs are going to be affected by AI. And I recently did an episode on the effect of AI on remote work. And
Mhm.
let's be very honest and real. Yes, there are some jobs that will be phased out because of AI, right? There are
Yeah.
going to be jobs that are not going to be as necessary to pay somebody to do because you can automate. You can have AI do it for you. You can create your own AI agent. You give it, a specific time. It runs it. You're not going to need a person to do that. But what I stressed on is that the people who understand AI and understand how to direct AI are the people that are going to prosper in person and remote work. And I want to hear your thoughts on that. What do you think? Because I clearly you use AI. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
trying to learn Zapier, and I mean, it's just to sit down and take the time to do it. But it's easy because it's no code. You don't have to think about. I mean, I started when I was in university. I did computer science, and I remember
Mhm.
public static void main. That's Java,
Yes.
right? I, I am not a
None of
programmer.
that
That was
hard
not
stuff.
for me. That was not for me. I was like, this is this. My brain doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
But things like Zap, like creating Zaps, it's so easy, right? So, what are your thoughts on AI, remote work, life in a whole? What are your thoughts on? Do you think it's going to phase jobs out? How do you use AI in your own life, in your own both personal and professional life? I know that's a lot of questions in one. So let's
Yes.
start with the first one. AI and work. Um, what are your thoughts on the effect AI is having on in-person and remote work?
So the effects from, so I can only speak from my own experiences
Of
within the
course.
companies that I've
Yes.
worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that first I'm going to preface this to say that for the companies that are AI forward and that understand how AI works, AI will not typically take away some jobs, but it will boost
Yes.
efficiency in your workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're in a workplace and AI can do your job better, AI will probably do the heavier stuff
Yes.
for you, and you can probably, be there on the back end doing other stuff. So my take on it is that AI is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's groundbreaking. Um, I believe persons who will be left behind are the persons who really aren't embracing AI.
Agree.
When you look at what Google used to be, at least 3 years ago, it's not the
Yeah.
same Google search engine today. It's built in with Gemini. You
Yes.
can search stuff. And a lot of people are now having to, change or learn a new way of using Google in terms of AI. How
Mm-hmm.
I use AI in my day-to-day task, I use AI to send emails.
Right.
I use AI to draft templates.
Mm-hmm.
Um, AI is used to, triage tickets that I have.
Right.
I think my experience with Zapier has really helped me in terms of, organizing my inbox because my
Right.
Gmail, across Gmail, Yahoo, and all of the other inboxes, I have at least three other Gmail inboxes that I do use. And sometimes it's just hard to manage.
Of
Zapier
course.
helps me to do that. And guys, Zapier, you have a 7-day free trial. It's easy, easy, easy. Go on their
Mm-hmm.
page and try to get that free trial in because I've even seen entry level customer support jobs asking you for, experience with
Yes.
using these no code automation workflows.
Yes.
So,
Because it's becoming more common, right?
mhm,
Because it's becoming now part of people's or organizations' workflow. you you have to understand at least how they work if you don't want to get
mhm,
left behind, you know. I've been seeing similar to you they're asking, and like you said, entry level jobs are asking for what people think is very technical skills, but it isn't a technical skill because it's built on being a no code
yeah,
automation. Yeah. I actually have a very good friend who is a mentor on the in the no code community on Discord for Zapier. So you
yeah,
have all of those resources as well. You have Discord, you have Red. I've seen people on Reddit, I've seen people everywhere. So the resources are out there to make yourself more knowledgeable. And we're not asking, I don't think anybody's asking you to be an expert, right? People are just asking you to have basic knowledge on these things, on these skills, on these things that are going to become, I think, part of everyday life, you know?
trust me, they are gonna become a part of everyday life, and
Yes.
it's not waiting on anyone.
No.
These are the times now where AI is now emerging. I feel like persons who want to jump on that technology or that bandwagon, today is the day to do it.
Yes.
It's now the time. I recently had that epiphany. I was like, this is really going somewhere. So I
Yes.
mentioned that I was going to university during COVID and then I had to stop because of COVID.
Hmm.
No, I was like, okay, cool. Starting back school this summer, I'm gonna finish my degree.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna finish my degree. My degree was in guidance and counseling.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna go back and finish. And then I started my job with this company that I'm in, and I'm realizing that technology really is going in a different place. It's no
Yes.
longer the career that, is associated with the guy who's in that dark closet and you don't see him until work is over.
Mm-hmm.
This so-called guy in the closet, he's coming out and he's
Yeah.
everywhere. Everybody needs him to do something. And these
Mm-hmm.
are the skills that are going to make us marketable. So I had
Yeah.
to make a very difficult decision to tear down 3 years of studying and completely shift into something that I've never ventured into, but it's
Mm-hmm.
something that I find interesting because the company that I work with, it's a technology company,
Right.
and they're very AI forward. So learning certain things during my onboarding and training, I was like, wow, I think I need to do a degree in, information technology. So I decided to, tear down 3 years of study to start over and go pivot into IT, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be a rewarding experience and it's going to be rewarding at the end of my 3 years.
Yes, it is. I have a degree in information systems and management. And,
Mhm.
I tell my daughter she's going into a level at school where she has to pick subjects. And I was like,
Yeah.
you don't have to have your life together, at
Yeah.
this age, because there are days that I still ask myself what I want to be when I grow up, because I'm still growing up and the world is changing, right? That, I mean, AI was, when I was younger, AI was a thing of movies, right? I
Yeah.
always remember, it's that movie with Will Smith and I think it's I Am Robot. And that was AI for me. I make a joke
Yeah.
all the time that I tell my AI when I use AI, I say please and thank you. I know you're not supposed to do that. But I make a joke that when the AI rises up, I want it to remember that I was kind to it, right?
Yeah.
It's just a joke, but it is the reality. And I mean, we're not talking space of hundreds of years. We are
hmm
talking in the space of the last 20, 25 years, and not even so long, in the space of 5 years, the way
hmm
technology has blossomed
Emerged.
and bloomed and emerged is incredible. And I'm like, I am excited to see where it goes. So I definitely think a degree in IT,
Yeah.
especially since you have you have a really good base in it. I've always said that IT is something that you have to love doing,
hmm
because if you don't, you're not, I mean, any job you have to love doing it. But IT is one that you want to continually learn, because there's always something to
There's
learn
always
about.
continual
There's
learning.
always something to learn about. There is no stopping with technology. So you
hmm
have to want to be on top of your game when it comes to technology. So I definitely think that is, you found your niche, and switching will definitely be
Oh, yeah,
rewarding for you.
certainly. And I just
Yes.
also want to say for anyone who's watching or listening, you necessarily don't need to start out with like, like me going fully blown into, an IT degree or, such a
No.
going into her information systems. You can start out with simple certifications like,
Yes.
your CompTIA A plus. If you're not technically inclined, start out with your CompTIA A plus. A plus classes are online for free, and the exam
Mm-hmm.
is about 200 to 300 US dollars, and it's self-paced.
Yeah.
So even if you're working, you pace yourself, watch the videos, get familiarized with the content. They have everything for your success. There are notes. There's a whole package you can buy for studying. So you can try the CompTIA. You have courses online through Google and
Mm-hmm.
Coursera that you can use to actually put your foot in the door if you want to
Yeah.
get into this AI age and the technology boom that's going on right now. Don't
Yeah.
wait and don't
Don't
don't be left
wait. Yes.
behind.
But I want to, tie that into whatever you're passionate about, right? Whether it be IT, whether it be customer service, whether it be marketing, whatever it is, you cannot rest on just what you think you know, right? Because the
Yeah.
world is moving so fast. There's so many changes happening. You need to constantly be bettering yourself, upskilling. I always talk about upskilling, and I think a lot of people think upskilling is expensive, but it isn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I was talking to my in my last interview, she does marketing and she was saying that she doesn't think that she can hire a Caribbean marketer because
Mm-hmm.
Caribbean marketing and marketing in the world, they're so separate. We are, I don't want to use the word backwards, but we are not where the rest of the world is, right?
Yes.
And we should want to be where the rest of the world is, especially with remote work, because when you are a remote worker, you're not competing with your country. I'm not competing with
Yep.
only Trinidadians.
All
You are
around
not
the
only
world.
you are competing with the world. And there's some very hungry people in the world who
Mm-hmm.
will be they 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 like to upskill, they like to learn things. And when you're competing on that level, you have to be able to stand out. How do you stand out? By doing the things that are necessary to get the job. And I think that is one of the things that really strikes me when people reach out to me about how do I get a remote job? Because I get that all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And I want to tie in the remote work conference you guys did in June. I attended and I was in the comments and I'm looking at the comments and people were like, I think a lot of people came thinking that the conference was going to give them
That give them
access to
jobs.
jobs. Yes, access to jobs. And I was like, I mean, if you read about what the conference was about, you would have known that wasn't what it was for. It was to give advice, to give tangible
Mm-hmm.
steps on what to do, to launch Oshido's platform as well. But a lot of people in the chat just want it to be easy. A lot of people that DM me just want it to be easy. When I put out an episode, I get a lot of messages saying, hey, drop a link. And I'm like, drop a link to what? And I want to tie this in because one of the things that I remember reading that you posted on LinkedIn was about gatekeeping.
Yep.
And I I absolutely loved what you wrote because I don't get accused of gatekeeping, but people seem to think I have access to jobs that I am not sharing.
Yep.
And I wanted to ask you what exactly brought that out for you? What made you write a piece on LinkedIn?
All right. So this piece on LinkedIn, and I feel like all of us from I think all of the Avengers, I think we posted something about that in our own variants.
Yes.
Um, but what prompted me was somebody literally, well, multiple people. I've been accused of gatekeeping, and I read something under Priscilla's post. She made a
Yes.
post on TikTok, and someone made a comment, and they were like, "Oh, y'all are just gatekeeping." So I was like, "Nah, we have to dispel the rumors. We just have to get
Yeah.
the BS out the window and
Mm-hmm.
get this addressed head on." A lot of people when they when they talk about or think about remote work, they think that, oh, because it's remote and you do it from your house, oh, it must be easy to get and it must be easy to do. They look at it as if it's just some other thing that you
Yeah.
can do. Remote work, whatever you do in remote work, it is a career. Just like if you dress up and you go into an office and you
Mm-hmm.
see people face to face. And I'd say remote jobs are even probably way more rigorous than the traditional 9 to 5 because
It is.
you're submitting your resume to an actual person or to an HR department and they actually see your resume when,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to bring up another term that some persons might not be familiar with, and that's ATS.
Yeah.
Those of us who work remote, we spend a lot of time constantly just revamping and changing our resumes because we understand that these companies that hire remotely, they use the applicant tracking system, which is an AI system that is used
Yes.
to filter out resumes that don't match keywords that are
Mm-hmm.
needed for a specific job or within a job in the job description. So we have to do that. And we're also competing with persons around the world I might be
True,
the
true.
most qualified person in my household, but when I compare myself to other persons in my community, I might be at the bottom of the list. And so it
Yes.
is, we're competing against all these people in the world. So no matter how qualified you think you are or how qualified I think I am, I always have to keep in mind that, hey, there's someone more qualified out there than me that might get
Yeah.
chosen for this job over me. And I'm reeling it back to something that you said about constantly upskilling. Upskilling
Yeah.
is so
It's
important
key.
in this world, and it upskilling sets us up for so much opportunities that we'll never
Mm-hmm.
even think of. So yeah.
Yep. That is true, you know. And one of the things I want to touch on is what you said with resumes and ATS. Now, at the Caribbean Remote Work Conference, you did a presentation
Hmm.
on optimizing your resume. And one of the comments that was raised was, do I need to optimize my or change my resume for every application? And I answered it out loud and I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So I was like, yes, because unless the job description is exactly the same for every job that you are applying, then you can keep the same resume. However, if the job description is different, and they are different because job
Hmm.
A may want Salesforce experience, but job B may want HubSpot
Hmm.
experience, right? Yes, it's good to have all your experience in it, but your metrics, and that is one of the things you talked about. And I think a lot of people don't understand how to tailor their resume using actionable outcomes,
Results. Yep.
results, right? I always say we use the verb. We use
Verbs. Yep.
accomplished or managed. But managed what? Managed whom? Managed
Exactly.
to do what? Right? It's not enough. And I think that that comes down to how we are accustomed to writing resumes. I
Hmm.
mean, going to school, this is your typical CV. This is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the longest thing ever because it you put everything from when you left school to, you know, all of those things. But now a resume has to pack a punch because it has to pass through an ATS. It
Yes.
has to tie in keywords. It has to get in front of somebody. And one of the statistics that has really struck me, you know, doing research and stuff, is that a recruiter spent no more than 7 seconds looking at your resume.
Yep. Hmm.
So when you start your resume, put in your education or your least valuable job, and by least
Hmm.
valuable job, I
And,
mean the thing that really didn't have any outcome.
and all your
You go in
CXCs.
and all your CXC. That's not important because on a world scale, right? Nobody knows what CXC is.
CXC is.
Exactly. You need to have your professional summary. You need to have your I like to say your greatest hits. It is the greatest hits of
Mm-hmm.
your career. What you
And
have done. Mm-hmm.
your professional summary needs to match the job description, what the employer is looking for. That's why they spend at least just 7 seconds looking at some keywords if
Mm-hmm.
it's in there. And it also, you did answer the question, and I did answer it on the conference, saying that yes, your resume needs to be tailored for every job. And even the remote job space is so tricky and funny, where you might even see, I saw a job post the other day. It was a happiness engineer, and
Okay.
when you look at the job description, they're basically, I think they were just looking for as customer service
Okay.
representative. So even when you read job descriptions, you're not looking. So how I want us to look at it is that we're not applying to a certain title. We're
Yes.
applying for the
Category.
job
Yes.
description, something that
Yeah.
fits your skill set.
Mm-hmm.
So if that fits your skill set, you tailor your resume and you apply, you have a stronger fighting chance of getting an interview, because
Yeah.
not because you've now tailored your resume means that, oh, I'm gonna get a job. It
No.
might land you an interview, might get you shortlisted, but you have
Yes.
to go in and put in the work and show them that, I know what I really am talking about on my
doing.
resume.
Yes, yes, exactly. And one of the things I learned recently, in at my interview that's coming out this week, is that LinkedIn, when you
Hmm.
are a hiring manager, um, and you put out a job, LinkedIn basically shortlists the people
Of
that
people.
yeah,
Yeah.
that apply, right? So they tell
Yes.
you who's a good fit, who is maybe a good fit, but not exactly, or who is not a good fit, right? And a lot of hiring managers use that. They go through the good fit, they go through the mid, and probably not even the not, depending on how many people apply. So having a resume is one piece of the puzzle,
Puzzle.
optimized resume. It comes down to as well having an optimized LinkedIn
LinkedIn.
profile, right? I have been getting, I mean, since I've been trying to be a little more consistent about my podcast, getting a lot of people, reaching out to me and trying to connect. I don't connect with you if you don't have a profile picture,
Same here. Same here.
right?
I have been
I,
getting quite a few persons without profile pictures. You don't know where they used to work. I mean, we don't want to know your business, but
no,
if you're trying to make connections, and I'm pretty sure you're following me because of the remote work content, and
exactly.
you want to remote work, they're not going to look at you. They're not going to be honest. You need a
So
proper
if,
picture.
exactly, if regular me not going to connect with you, who is a recruiter? Who is a hiring
Mm-hmm.
manager? Who is a company? Because one of the things now that you see all the time on applications is your LinkedIn URL.
Mm-hmm.
One of you, it's part of the application. So if your LinkedIn profile has no picture, no about, no um, jobs or where you've worked or any of that, you are disqualifying yourself.
Yourself.
A- And my episode that I did last week, that went out, was that the Caribbean accounts for 0.5% of LinkedIn users,
Mm.
not a percent, 0.5%. And that is 0.5% of 1.3 billion people in the world.
Look at that. And that's a
And
very small number. That's very disappointing.
it's extremely disappointing. It was, I tell you, when I read that, when I did my research and I read that stats, and I was like, that can't be right.
Mhm.
That cannot be right. And I went and I did more research and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's correct. We are more active on TikTok and Facebook
Mm-hmm.
and
And
Instagram than we
Instagram.
are on LinkedIn. How do you expect to get a job? How do you expect,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not just talking remote work. We're talking remote work, we're talking in-person jobs,
Yep.
all of those things. How do you expect to be taken seriously when you're
There's no
not putting
professional
yourself
background. We can't see what your
exactly?
professional background is like.
You're not going to be taken seriously if you don't look like you're serious. Let's put it in plain language, right? You have
That's
to
true.
you have to show up. You have to be present. You have to, yes, you may be the best person qualified for a job in terms of your skills and all of those things, but nobody's going to take you seriously if you don't
Hmm.
have a picture.
That
They're
is
not
so
even,
true.
a lot of things even weed you out, right? When you can filter by no picture. So if you don't have a
Hmm.
picture, give yourself an automatic
Yep.
out right there.
And
So into, so go ahead, sorry.
no, I would say, and a lot of us, I mean, we can always say, hey, get a LinkedIn profile, but we create the LinkedIn profile, but we don't know how to use it.
Yep.
I'm gonna drop a tip. When you're searching for jobs, go to the search bar. If you're looking for customer service or support, type that in and then filter it out for probably like the past 24 hours, and
Yes.
don't search for jobs, search for posts
No.
from
Yeah.
probably hiring managers looking for persons to fill certain
Yeah.
positions, and you scroll through and you'll see lucrative. I haven't landed a job through LinkedIn, but I've landed interviews before,
Yeah.
so
And to
it's
go
something
further
that
than that,
works.
there are a lot of companies that you can do research on.
Hmm.
You can look at remote first companies, follow them,
Yep.
follow them. Go on their page and follow them on LinkedIn. Their leaders
Yep.
post jobs all the time, because I want to bring in like Todoist, right? That's that
Yeah.
company. They are fully remote company, and they put out jobs as posts. They don't put out jobs as jobs. I
Yeah.
always tell people to check it back against people's websites and that kind of thing, because we know there are a lot of scams on LinkedIn,
Scammers.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that. But I mean, there's some very simple things that you can do. Like you said, make sure you search posts, go into posts and look, because I've been seeing so many jobs there as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to jobs. Like when you go into the jobs tab and
Listen.
you filter by worldwide or whatever, and it's like zero. And then you go onto your feed and it's like 10 of
Yeah.
them, 10 jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. And LinkedIn works a little bit like TikTok in terms of the content that you
Mm-hmm.
interact with. If you interact, because a lot of people, they're not using LinkedIn and they're like, oh, I can't find any jobs. I know like you have the job section and you have the search filter that you can
Mm-hmm.
find jobs through, but interact, connect with persons who post about
Yes.
remote work, follow these companies and interact with their content, drop a comment, be visible, because that's another thing
Mm-hmm.
that might even land you a job. I've gotten probably hundreds of DMs from persons who are hiring that I had to probably turn them down because I already have a job, or, it just doesn't suit me. But
Right.
jobs are there. If you interact with the content, you will start to see more remote jobs content
Yeah.
coming through that you can pick, choose, and refuse to your liking.
I like that. Pick, choose, and refuse, because that's what you want. That is what you want. And we are not talking about a fantasy world. This is Krishna's reality. He can pick, choose, or
Hmm.
refuse. That is his
Yep.
reality. And it just really it infuriates me a little bit because we have these tips,
Yeah.
and then people just think it's easy, or people think that we are gatekeeping,
Hmm.
or more than that, people think that remote work is easy. Like getting a remote job is easy, or getting, when you actually employ, that it's easy and you do anything you
Yeah.
want whenever you want. Like you said, a remote job, a remote career is actually
Hmm.
work. It's work. I
Yep.
I feel like I work harder now than I
Yep.
did when I was in office. And the reason I feel that way is mentally, this is a very different process,
You have to
because
be very
I,
present mentally.
yes, and also you have to be very disciplined mentally. You have to be very motivated mentally,
Hmm.
because in most cases, you have to make the choice if you're going to work or not. When
Yep.
you are going in office, you have no choice, right? You have to
You
pick up
have to
yourself
go.
and get there. You have to go, and you're going to be on time, because you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get written up, whatever, if you're not on time. With remote work, you kind of like your own boss. You have to
Hmm.
make sure that you are showing up, and not only just showing up by being present, showing up in terms of interest.
Hmm.
Interest is a big deal. You want to prosper in a remote job. You
Yep.
can't just do what on your job description. Ask questions. Ask to be involved in other things. Tell your company, hey, I've been learning this software, and I think that this could really help us in what we're doing. Can we try it out? Can we do a trial? Is it something that we could, just do like a beta project, something like
Oh
that?
yeah.
That is how you solidify yourself in remote work. So, one of the things I want to ask you about is the Caribbean Remote Work Conference. Like, what were your thoughts? I know there was so many people. There were so many people, and you're the only
Yep.
one I think I've gotten to talk to after the conference. Everyone else
Yeah.
I've interviewed before. So, what was the feeling seeing? I think it was thousands of people logged in. At
Yeah. It
at,
was
at
about
some point.
7,000 people. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Thereabout at the
was a
time.
lot of people, and I mean that's incredible. That shows interest, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, what were your thoughts going into it? And Is there any follow-up coming from the conference? Any more scheduled, anything like that?
All right. So in terms of anything coming up right now, we do plan to have another conference, but we haven't
Okay.
started planning that as yet. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
scheduled in that aspect as yet. Um, d- Going into the conference, to be honest, um, I was a nervous wreck. I knew what I was going to talk about. I didn't know what we were expecting. So we had this thing where we had our daily update of the persons who, signed up.
Right.
So every other day you'll hear, okay, 2,000 people. I was like, what? And then we reached the 5,000 mark. I'm like, okay, wow. I kind of just disassociated myself when it got to the 5,000 mark. I was like, okay, wow, wow, wow. We had our weekly meetings, and, I don't remember who said, we're not seeing these people face to face. We'll just, it's just us in the room, just talk like how you'd normally talk. And, you know, I didn't expect it to have the impact that it had because when I look at my personal network of professionals, there's so many people who, you know, left a lot of feedback who came back to me and they're like, I watched the remote work conference and, I landed a job. I mean, thanks
Yeah.
so much for the um, the information that you all contributed. Like it renews my mindset. I mean, a lot of persons really gravitated to Pris's segment where she spoke about, having faith and
And
just
manifesting.
manifesting and just the whole
Mm-hmm.
perseverance. Because a lot of
Yeah.
people, they before the conference, they thought that, oh, let me just apply to a remote job and yeah, boom, I'm gonna get it.
Mm-hmm.
Remote job searching comes with so many disappointments. I was unemployed for 6 months, and it took me 6 months to find another remote job. I'm good at what I do, but it took me 6 months to land the role that I actually wanted. So persons really they interacted with the information that we gave in a positive way. Um, they had some very good questions. If you didn't
Yeah.
understand some of the questions when they asked them, you might say, "What is wrong with this stupid person?" But we understood where these questions were
Yeah.
coming from. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't trying to be disrespectful. They just
No.
wanted to understand. So you had a lot of persons who were baffled at the fact that, oh, they have to revamp their resume
Yes.
um, several times for several different jobs. And another thing that jumped out at me was my presentation on what a good resume looks like and what a bad resume looked like.
Yeah.
Believe you me, Sasha, when I was doing that presentation, I didn't plan on presenting like that. It was probably like the day before the conference. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I need to put a visual picture of what
Yes.
a good resume looks like and what a bad resume looks like because I have friends that are close to me
Yeah.
that they have those bad resumes. They have those
Yes.
bad resumes, and I've
It
told them over and
resonated.
over. Yeah, it resonated with them. They reached out to me and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, like, can you fix my resume? A lot of persons
Yeah.
after the conference, um, reached out to me to revamp their resume, and I did it for free. And
Mm-hmm.
but what I told them was that, hey, even though I'm revamping this resume, it is to give you a guide of what a good
What
resume needs
should.
to look
Mm-hmm.
like. But going forward, you can't use this for every job. So I
Yeah.
gave them, the information to access to tools that they can use to revamp
Mm-hmm.
their resume because you don't have to sit around a computer for an hour revamping a resume anymore.
No.
There are tools you
No.
can use to do that.
Yes.
So the information that came out of the conference, it was a lot of people were receptive
Yes.
towards it, and I didn't know it would have such a big positive impact in the region. And we're hoping that next year is bigger and better.
Yeah. I can see that. I can definitely see that. I mean, you know, it was incredible to see the response, but also just, the response, not the response in terms of just the conference, the response in terms of how people were taking in and synthesizing the information that they got. I know you guys were busy, so like I'm reading the comments
Yeah.
as they're going on, and like you're seeing where people were having their light bulb moments in the comments.
Yeah.
I think what really I really want to say the way it started with Oshido explaining remote work and the
Yeah.
different types of remote work was an important step, because I realized a lot of people didn't understand that there were different types of remote
Types.
workers.
Mhm.
Yeah. So even
Yeah.
something like out the gate, people didn't get like, oh, remote work is just not sitting in your home, because
Mhm.
yes, that exists, but then there are some jobs where you can't travel. They want you to work in a specific
Yeah.
space. There are a lot of different categories of
Industries.
remote work and industries. And then you have to think about the nuances of the business that you are going into,
Hmm.
those kinds of things. So I think it gave a lot of people something to think about, which was important. And, I have an episode earlier on in the podcast where I talk about, is remote work right for you?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I realized in the comments, a lot of people were like, kind of, you're seeing the gears tuning. Is this really right for me? Because let's be real, this is not for everybody. This remote work is not for everybody.
You definitely isn't.
As much as you want to say, yes, this is amazing and everybody should do it, being a remote employee, a remote worker is not for everybody,
For everybody.
right?
And
Yeah.
even as much as remote work isn't for everybody, persons who even have work in probably 9 to 5 jobs that aren't remote, and you can venture into remote work, it's going to be a little bit harder for persons
Yep.
who probably been working 10 years in a 9 to 5 and want to suddenly transition into remote work. And I typically, because I do get clients like those, and I typically give the guidance, and I'm like, hey, it's not going to be easy. You might
Yeah.
have to dedicate some time to learn, do some courses, learn some CRMs, because they do have the skill, but they just don't
Yeah.
have the experience with certain, just like we were talking about Zendesk, and we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about Salesforce and Jira, and the list of CRM system goes on.
Yes.
And the list of CRM systems, it differs from sector to sector. And you
Yep.
also said something, you said that, persons think that remote work is easy, or it's just one sector that works from home, and persons typically say, okay, cool, call center.
Yeah.
You have finance jobs that are remote,
Mm-hmm.
marketing jobs, copywriting jobs, um, SEO jobs, which is search engine
Yeah.
optimization jobs. They're just think about just about anything you can do it remote, except probably being a doctor or
Well,
to be honest,
they have
yeah,
teledoctors now.
telemedicine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
There's
seen remote. To be
telemedicine.
honest,
Yeah.
yeah, I have seen
Yeah.
remote jobs looking for even
Yeah.
mechanics or such that can do over camera or on
Diagnostic.
Zoom
Mm-hmm.
diagnostics. Yeah, so just about anything you can do remote, but keeping up with technology and doing certain courses, or not even like the courses on of itself, but like watching videos on YouTube and becoming
Yeah.
familiar with certain types of content will go a
Familiar.
longer
Mm-hmm.
way. It's just that it's gonna take
Yeah.
you a little bit more time to be prepared than the persons who are, already in the industry and or had jobs that expose them to certain types of customer relationship management tools.
Yes, that's true. And I want to, tie in my experience. I worked in person for 16 years.
Hmm.
Going into being a remote worker, I mean, the experience I had was working from home during COVID, which was like trial by fire, right? You had no
Yeah.
choice. You had to figure it out.
Yep.
But it took a lot. It took a lot to adjust to not having to get up and get dressed and go leave the house, and
Hmm.
creating a routine for
Yep.
myself, creating a space where I could work. All of those things took adjusting. And also, learning to like being proficient in Zoom.
Yep.
That was a big deal, being proficient in Teams, because we use so many different software, communication software. You Zoom, Teams, Slack, all of
Mm-hmm.
those things that you take for granted when you work in person, because you walk down to the next cubicle and you talk to somebody. But
Somebody, yeah.
when you have no choice and you have to do it online, you have to figure out how to make it work. Being my own technical support, thankfully, I had a background in technical support, but being able to troubleshoot, do basic troubleshooting when my camera wasn't working, when my mouse decided to stop, how to deal with certain things, just basic troubleshooting, because you don't have an IT department in your home to come and fix it for
Exactly.
you, you know?
And then the
So,
time that it'll take to probably reach out to your company's IT department, it
exactly,
valuable work time is lost. So yeah, there's some
exactly.
level of independence that you need to have when it comes and discipline when it comes to remote work that is just unmatched.
It is. It is. So, that leads me to what is usually my final question of the interview. And that is, if you had to give advice to someone who is looking to get into remote work, what would that be? So, Krishna of 2021, looking to get into remote work, right? What would you look back now and say, these are the things you should do? What would be the advice you would give?
Listen, I would tell Krishna that first, it's not going to be easy.
Ah,
It's not going to be easy. And I'd also tell Krishna that, hey, ask questions. Try to find other people. You're gonna need a community because it's hard. It is hard. Hard in the
isolating.
sense that, and isolating because
Yeah.
remember, we're working from home. We're looking for remote
Yeah.
jobs. So
Yeah.
I'd say that, hey, build perseverance. Um, try to find some way, search the internet for certain types of information, and you'll make it. You'll make it. Just be strong. Have
Being
a lot
strong.
of
I like that.
patience.
Patience. Yes. Okay, you said you were out of work for 6 months. I was out for 9.
Hmm.
Trust
Yeah,
me. I think
trust me.
this broke me. And I know I hate to say that, but it really felt in that moment like it did.
Hmm.
Because it was like you go through all these things in your head, like, am I good enough? What did I do? Leaving my office job, all the things. You question your abilities, your path in life.
Yeah.
Um, you and the universe are out on the outs because you're like, I'm a good person.
Hmm.
Um, why is this happening to me? Why isn't this easier? And I love that your advice is not like fix your resume, hustle harder. I love that your advice is to
Yeah, and
persevere and be strong.
yeah, and another thing that I want to leave with you guys, a remote job or a remote employer does not owe you anything. They
No.
don't have to hire you because a lot of frustration that comes out of, not being able to get remote jobs is sometimes some of us thinking that, oh, I applied, I should have gotten this. So you just have to be strong. My niece decided to join us. Yeah, so a remote job definitely don't owe us anything, and we just have to be persevere. We just have to persevere. So if one job does not accept you, keep it moving. You're going to find something that is for you. And there's a Jamaican saying that says, "What is for you cannot be unfor you." So what's yours is definitely yours.
For us, it's what's for you and past you, right?
Yeah.
So if it's for you, it hasn't passed you yet. You will get
Hmm.
there. Yeah. So I absolutely love that that is your advice, and I love that this is how we are ending
Thank you.
this episode on such a motivational note.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This is not an easy road. I mean, I don't think anything in life is easy,
It's
right? You
easy.
know,
Yep.
nothing in life is easy, but the things that are worth it are worth
Hmm.
working for, worth
Definitely.
putting the work in, upskilling yourself, doing your resume. It may seem like it's a million times. All you need is one do. All you need is one to hit, and
Hmm.
that's it. So thank you so much, Krishna, for taking the time. I know we both did this after work, so we
Oh
tired,
yeah.
and it's after the World Cup, so we a little heartbroken
Yeah.
too.
Oh
But
yes.
but thank you so much for taking the time, because I really enjoyed where this conversation went, from an IT background to someone in IT as well.
Yeah.
Having our connection on that, and also our connection with being passionate about remote work and not gatekeeping our secrets, our tips,
Yes.
and sharing what we know so that other people can be successful as well. And guys,
Mhm.
I'm going to end this saying this is our stories. These are our stories. These are the tips that have worked for us. And we don't always get them right,
Mhm.
but we are telling you real tangible steps that have worked for us. And like Krishna said, I think the best one is to persevere and be strong as you go through your remote work journey. So Krishna, thank you again so much for joining me on the Remote Islander. I'm going to have follow-up episodes with all of you guys,
All
because I
right.
think I think what you have is so valuable. The knowledge, that the experience that you have brings to others in our community, or people looking to join our community. So I look forward to meeting with you again. And of course, hopefully be part of the Caribbean Remote Work conference that you guys have all the way from Trinidad.
All right, and thank you so much, Sacha, for having me so I could, share what
Of course.
what I've been through and share, practical tips, because this is something we
Yes.
have to, approach practically, and we have to have a serious mindset shift if we're going to be successful in remote jobs. So I enjoyed talking with you and just rapping. So thanks for having me.
Of course. And thank you so much.